Hello, everyone. We made it here. We all made it here. Look at us. Hey, look at us. Look at us. Hello. 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 Nice to see you. Nice to see you. You know, it's been a while since Novella November. And I gotta be honest, I've been missing it. I've been missing hanging out on the live stream, chatting with you guys. It's so nice to see you. Call me Zed. Hello, Danish Pastry. Always a pleasure. I see we got Pilot Alex. We got Fusin. Am I pronouncing that right? Is that right? I see Frey in the chat. Hello, everyone. Hello. Oh, man. Brings back good memories. Sitting in here, doing tier lists. We did a lot of those. What else did we do back in Novella November? Did some writing, did a little bit of writing. Wow. Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. This stream is all about writing challenge number 3. And for everyone who submitted a story, you should be proud. It is so hard in the midst of all this life stuff to like buckle down and start and finish something. 5,000 words, that's no joke. 2,000 words, that's no joke. It's really hard to balance that kind of stuff with all the other different things that you might be doing. So the fact that you submitted a story, number one, you should be proud of it. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. Proud of you. And I hope, you know, these writing challenges, one of the big things about them is that hopefully the process of starting and finishing something that's not a full-blown book can help you sort of understand your process for how, you know, you work. And maybe that's just making little micro adjustments. I don't normally write science fiction, and this time I'm gonna try writing science fiction or romance or whatever it might be, but also bigger things. Maybe try using a new piece of software. Maybe try, I don't know, writing in a new place, listening to a different kind of music. This kind of thing lets you be able to sort of experiment a little bit with your writing, as opposed to trying to experiment when you're 20,000 words into an 80,000 word book. You know what I'm saying? All right. Oh no. B, you're not gonna trick me into saying it twice. Fool me once and get me to say that word on stream. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I won't be fooled again. All right, so I said I had a kind of a funny announcement to make for the opening of the stream. And has anyone here tuned in to the Writing Theory podcast yet? Let me know in chat if you have. You know, the podcast is still finding its footing, kind of figuring out what content works best on the podcast. But as a personal fan of podcasts, I think it is, you know, it's pretty fun. Right? It's a different kind of content than sitting here in front of a video and like me building motion graphics, or how can this funny intro work, or, you know, how am I gonna do a transition from this topic to that topic and have a visual gag with it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes with making a video, but a podcast can really just be about the content. And I love that. Now, that being said, the one thing that I really wish the podcast had that it hasn't had in the past is a way for you and I to do some discussion. I love seeing in the Discord when people go in there and say, here's what I thought about what you were talking about on this last podcast episode. Here's my thoughts. Here's what I agree with. Here's what I disagree with. I love it. I love it. So then I was like, you know what? How can we take that to the next level? How can we take that to the next level? Introducing, drumroll. I don't really want to ruin your listening experience. Imagine a drum roll, or even do it on your own desk. Drum roll. Everyone, I would like to introduce you to the Writing Theory podcast hotline that you can now today call into with your very own writing questions. I have no idea how this works internationally. And I find it hilarious that this can even exist in the world. But, you know, I would love for you to call in. And it goes straight to a voicemail. I know there's lots of anxiety about making a phone call. I feel it too. I'm not going to answer, I promise. It goes straight to a voicemail that says a nice little message from me, and then you leave your message, and everything goes well. Maybe that'll make it onto the actual podcast. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see a brave soul test out calling into this number internationally. I don't know if it charges you or anything. This is just Google Voice. But we'll see how it goes. And then if this isn't working internationally, we will find a way that will work. Good thinking be about the Discord voice message. Love it. That would honestly probably be an even better quality recording, because the voicemail one, not that great. But we're going to evolve, we're going to iterate, and we're going to make it work. And I think this is hilarious. So feel free if you have a writing question that you would like to see answered, or if you have thoughts on something that we had discussed in a podcast episode, call it in, let me know. It might make it onto an episode where we can discuss it in more detail. You can pass the bill on to your parents. You have my permission to do so. Good idea, Frey. That's big brain. All right, so that's fun. I'll share this on the Discord so it's not just on this thing. And we'll see how it goes for a little bit. But before I announce it to the world, I wanted to announce it. All right. So why are we here? We're here because we just wrapped up a writing challenge. And for those who maybe are not part of the Discord or haven't seen this before, I'll give you a quick little spiel. The time window varies, but every now and then we do a writing challenge, and it is a way to give you an excuse to start and finish writing something. And that ability and practice of starting and writing something and finishing it helps you become a better writer and evolve your process, fingers crossed, hopefully. Everyone who submitted stories for this writing challenge, we love it. We had a great time reading it, me and my wife, and today we announce the results. So let's talk about the writing challenge. Imagine that says writing challenge number 3. So, how were stories scored? We had 3 main categories. The first was creativity, right? The way that these writing challenges work is I give you a prompt that you can interpret in any sort of way. The writing challenge this time was the perfect storm. So however you wanted to interpret the perfect storm into a story that inspired you and you were excited to write, that gave you the ability to do it. The more unique, interesting ideas, creativity was something that we could reward those interesting ideas with. This is a weighted score. It doesn't have nearly the kind of impact that other scores do. It kind of starts off at a base level of 80, and most people get an 80 there, but it might be adjusted if you bring some really cool or interesting ideas to the table. Next, we have technique. Technique is where I'm looking at the writing decisions and the writing skills that you made. Some of this, like I said, like decisions and skills, decisions might be like, I saw that you purposefully set up this character to be a reluctant hero, and they said no to the call to adventure, and towards the end of the story, they finally stepped into their shoes and they chose to become that hero. That is a very conscious storytelling decision. That is your technique. But it's also your writing style, things like your prose, putting together sentences, and creating something that is technically a good read, if you understand what I'm saying. I do not remove points for things like typos or formatting, and I try not to remove points for anything where I think it might have been translated from one language to another language, because that's not really what I care about, personally. Only when these things became egregious and really impacted the reading experience might you get some points knocked off from that. And then lastly, we had execution. So this is kind of strange. I think some people get a little confused what's the difference between technique and execution. I think you can still craft a story that is effective without having all of the technical. Maybe your prose isn't the best, but you know what? Your character was compelling and I was really rooting for them. Or maybe, your characters weren't great, but there was a big plot twist and that worked. So what were you trying to accomplish with that story based on the reading experience? And do I think you successfully did that? Do I think this made for a good story? This one is less all about skill and technique and more about sort of the end result. Some last thoughts. All scores are final. The score sheet that we use is just a means to an end to be able to figure out some sort of ranking. We collect our thoughts. And then I expand on them when we put them into this little PowerPoint and talk about your stories. And I tell you how proud I am that you did this or that. And then lastly, share your stories. You really, really, really should share your stories. I tell you every writing challenge, it would be a great benefit to have some sort of platform that you can share your stories in, whether that's a Substack, a Medium, a WordPress blog, something that you can say, hey, here, stranger I've met online who really likes stories. I wrote this. Feel free to check it out if you want. You should take pride in what you wrote, because it is art. It is coming straight out of your brain onto the computer screen, and it would never have existed if you didn't do that. That's really cool. All right, which means, let's talk about the top 10. Let's talk about the top 10. So, as a reminder, there are some rewards here. The top 10 stories and their authors are all announced in the announcements channel in our Discord, sort of celebrating the work that everyone did. The top 5 stories this challenge get personalized feedback. This is like a 1,000 to 2,000 word write-up that I do about your story that I send to you in Discord. And basically says, here's what I thought you did really well. Here's what I thought were maybe some of the other choices that you made in your story that could be strengthened. It's probably the best way I could try to phrase it. And this is all my own personal sort of advice, right? So this isn't like the de facto, I'm right, I have all the knowledge and you're wrong. It's not that. It's me saying that, based on what I know about story personally and, how I'm analyzing your story, these are just some things that maybe you should consider or keep in mind. It's totally up to you whether you agree with that, disagree with that, want to implement it and revise your story or not. Totally up to you. But I hope that is helpful and or exciting. All right. Our total entries, I think I said 13 in the Discord, and then my spreadsheet, I had to update it because I use multiple sheets. So like all the submissions come into this one table that's linked through Google Forms. And then I get links and story titles pulled from that to another sheet. So I don't even see, I don't purposely go out of my way to try to see the author's name when I'm reading a story. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Then we keep all your rate all your stories there. I said 13. I think we had 16 total stories submitted. 16 total stories submitted, I think. And if not, it was really close to that. So let's talk. Here we go. Our top 10. At number 10, with Kaylee Dragonfly, we have their story, The Warning. At number 9, Karina, we have Under the Weather. Number 8, Woodland Dreamer, we have the story Stormbreakers. Number 7, Pilot Alex, we have Green Light. And number 6, Rosewater, Where They Buried the Angel. Congratulations everyone here in the number 10 to number 6 spots. These are not the people who will receive the personalized feedback, but these were all really great, really fun, really well-written stories, and you should be proud of them. Also, something else I gotta say, in the past when we've done writing challenges, we've seen a lot of science fiction and fantasy. And that's probably because, that's a lot of the kind of content that I make. But that's not anything about the, anything about the kind of stories that need to be submitted here in the writing challenge. In this writing challenge, we had such a wide variety of genres. Things from thrillers, post-apocalyptic stories. We had stories that were high fantasy. We had stories with religions and stories with all these twists and zombie stories and all kinds of different content, and it was super awesome to read these stories. So congratulations to everyone here. Now, let's move on to the top 5. Top 5, these will receive the personalized feedback. So, at number 5, we have A Spark of Hope by Rosewater. And A Spark of Hope, so this one's interesting, right? There's something deeper happening in A Spark of Hope. I'm gonna read this off the page because I wrote it, right? Now, so I could remember to say it. There is some larger society, some larger plan, and it causes our main character, who is very much not part of this big, major, main, bigger thing happening, to just be a pawn being moved around. Oh yeah, let me know if I've messed something up here. Let me double check my authors. Hold on. To the spreadsheet. Hold on, everyone. I might have gotten an author wrong. And we will resolve this because we want it to be done right. Blazako, thanks for letting me know. A Spark of Hope, I believe, was Katie Starr. Hold on, we're getting here. And Rosewater had Where They Bury the Angels. Let's go. I think that's it. If I've gotten that wrong, someone please let me know, and I will call it out in the announcements. But I think we're good now. By Katie Starr. Is Katie in the chat? I don't think Katie's in the chat. All right, back to it. So, A Spark of Hope by Katie Starr. Here's the thing. In this story, we have a character put in a very difficult situation where their husband is injured. But there's something nefarious going on where they've also been targeted by a larger, for lack of a better word, conspiracy. They are used, manipulated, and put in an even worse situation. And the fact that this story is written in like a diary style means that we're in that character's head in first person, seeing all these thoughts swirl around, and it was a very effective way of telling that story. Who's saying I'm mispronouncing Blazako? There's only one way to pronounce it. Let's go number 4. Congratulations, Katie Starr. Sorry for the controversy of getting the wrong name on there. To the next one. Number 4, A Perfect Storm by Lucas Matz. Is Lucas in the chat? If Lucas is in the chat, let me know. We had 2 stories with A Perfect Storm. The theme of the whole thing was Perfect Storm. That makes sense. And I really, really liked this story in particular, for the fact. Sorry, hold on. I'm getting some info from the wife about how I messed up the order. Thank you. A Perfect Storm at number 4 was very relatable to me. Very relatable because it's a story of sort of a lost soul who meets someone that gives them that hope that, hey, maybe I've found someone meant for me. But then other life responsibilities kind of take you away from that. It feels like you've lost that one chance. And then the story brings that hope back right at the end. I really enjoyed this one. Also a very nice writing style. I hope Lucas chooses to share that story in the Discord so you can read it as well. Congratulations, Lucas. Very much enjoyed it. Also, anything that has a little bit of sports is always fun to me. Number 3. We have Boy Gorilla by Day Swallower. Woo! Congratulations, Day Swallower! Boy Gorilla is, in my opinion, strangely mesmerizing. I don't think it is the weirdest story in here, but it is strangely mesmerizing in the sense that we have characters in costumes. We have people who are hiding information about themselves and playing these facades. And there's purpose behind it. There's a reason, right? Why is this person acting this way? We get hints to that. It's great character work. Your first exposure to these characters puts you on the back foot, yet by the end of the story, you can't help but wonder who they are and how they got there. A great depiction of subtle character, subtle. I pronounced the B in subtle. You believe that? Subtle character work and teasing the reader along with that strange detail. I know a lot of times we have Mom for EPUB, I think is the other username here. But we also often have Day Swallower here, so if you're here, congratulations. All right, hold on 1 second. 1 second. Let's do another quick check here because Blazako. Did you submit a story this time? Because I did not see one with your Discord username. What was the title of your story? I do not have that story in my submissions. So here's what we're gonna do, Blazako, because I know you love to be part of the writing challenge and you're always gunning for that top slot. I don't know if it was something with the Google form or what. Did you submit it through the Google form? Chicken Man, your story is in here. All right, Blazako, I'll reach out to you on Discord and we'll talk about it, all right? But don't worry, your story will not be done in vain. I promise. But as soon as I saw you say if I don't land in the top 10, I was like, I have all the submissions that came in through the Google form, and I'm not seeing that one. So we'll talk about it, don't worry. All right, back to it. And I'll send you a message, which is the correct way to pronounce it. So, Boy Gorilla, Day Swallower, if you're in the chat, I hope, or if you see this later, you should be proud. This was a very unique, interesting, and strange story, but it had both me and my wife wanting to know what happens next. You didn't see any spoilers. Let's go to number 2. Number 2. Chaotic Carrot Cake by Otter Fan Yan, who's been part of the Discord for a very long time. Love to see Otter around here. And Chaotic Carrot Cake must have been titled just to drive me crazy when I have to say it on the live stream. This is another cozy story by our favorite Otter, with a hero that you just want to root for. And so you do the entire story. But this time, with this hero, we're in a strange place that we don't belong in, and we're just wanting them to succeed. And so we get to see them do this, and it's a very satisfying, cozy, enjoyable story. And there's something special about a story that just kind of feels like a warm hug. And that's what this story does. Plus, it's about, the primary thing happening here. Of course, there's a perfect storm. But the primary thing happening here is that it's all about food. And you don't see a lot of food-focused books. So when a food-focused book comes around, you pay attention. And that's what happened here. This was a very enjoyable read. Congratulations, Otter. Very proud, very proud. You should be very proud of it too. Good job. Which then leads us to the top story. The top story for writing challenge number 3. A fucking waste of time by Chicken Man. Congratulations, Chicken Man. Number 1 for writing challenge number 3. As a reminder, what you get being the top story submitted here, the top story scored a special role inside the Discord challenge winner. But also either $25 or you can double it and give it to charity, and we can work together to pick what charity you would like to submit that to, if that's the route that you go, and of course the feedback that we get here. And this waste of time story is very much not a waste of time. Of course, we have solid technique being shown here. The prose is enjoyable to read. It's a fantasy story that is kind of purposefully flipping tropes around, but not in a way that's too in your face, in a way that's a little bit more subtle. We have a reluctant hero who knows that the challenges they're going through are crazy, and they don't want to be a part of it. But the situation in the story makes them be a part. Each character is enjoyable, each character has a unique voice, and the short story makes the most out of one singular setting, which when you're in a short story is a smart decision to make. Single setting, a handful of characters, pacing never feels stagnant. It's an enjoyable experience. Chicken Man, congratulations. Proud of you, proud of you. And I think that's just about everything I have here. I'm gonna do one quick little thing here where I'm gonna talk about sort of the things that I saw in this writing challenge that were maybe some common mistakes that were made that could be addressed for the next writing challenge. And we'll see if it works here. If you have any feedback or anything, you can hop over to channel feedback, let me know. I appreciate it. I want to make these writing challenges even better than they are. And maybe one of those things that we can do here is make sure that the Google form thing doesn't end with any stories in limbo. So we'll see. So let's do a little chatting, because there were some things that I saw in this writing challenge, more so than in the last two challenges, that I think led to some stories that didn't score as high as they could have. And the first one, I think, tends to be wanting to build a really strong world for your short story. Saw this in a couple different stories where, and I don't know if this was an extension of, one of the rules that we've had in the past was don't make a story that's an extension of something you've already created. That's been kind of a rule, like don't set it in a world that you already have. That's what we did in the past, right? And so for this writing challenge, that question was asked again, and I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens if we open this up. If someone does want to write a story that is set in a world that they've already sort of been working in. And what I think that led to was some situations where stories were using the context and the knowledge and the world of something that they've built up and crafted and put a lot of thought into, but there just simply wasn't enough time for the reader to catch up to it. And now maybe by the end of the story, that reader is a little bit more sort of aware of what's happening and all the different pieces at play here. But you have to be really mindful when you're only between 2,000 and 5,000 words that what you're building is approachable. That's the big thing. I'm not saying any specific story. I'm not saying every story did that, but I think there were some moments that may have been born from that. And I also could be wrong. Well, could be wrong. And I'm not calling any specific entry out like Kaylee's saying. No, I'm having read all the stories. I'll tell you, we had a lot of stories with a lot of really interesting world building. It's just a matter of whether or not the reader felt comfortable in that world so quickly. Let's see, what else? Here's something I noticed as a positive in this writing challenge was that we had fewer characters, fewer settings, and it felt like things were very much focused. In some of our past writing challenges, things have been a little bit wider, a little bit more complex. I don't know if writers are having sort of a conscious thought about I want to reduce things down, but I noticed that it seemed to be a little bit more constrained in a good way this writing challenge. Now that being said, you can kind of take every single bit of writing advice ever and just say like, don't do blah, 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 unless you do it really well. So there have been some more complex stories that totally worked, that had more characters, that had more settings, that had more complicated plots or world building. And sometimes they work, but you are putting yourself at a higher risk because of it. See if there's anything. This is writing challenge number 3. I would love to hear, especially in the Discord, if you could hop over into something like channel feedback. Are there any changes that you want to see for writing challenge number 4? Whenever that happens, whenever it happens. Whether it's a change in things like certain rules, whether it's a change in the time frame. I think this time we had about 2 weeks to do the stories. Whether it's a change in scoring or judging. Let me know what you think. This is an evolving process. What I am worried about, Chicken Man said 2 weeks is perfect. I try to make sure specifically you had at least 2 weekends. Previously, I had done like a 1 to 2 week kind of thing, but it was like a Monday to Monday thing, and it was like a little weird. I tried to make sure you at least had 2 weeks to work. What I'm afraid of. So like when we announced the writing challenge this time around, we had 50 people opt into it to see like, you know, the channels and the details and the submission guides and everything. And that never fully means that people are going to put in, you know, all of that extra work to then actually write and finish a story and submit it. But I am always worried when I see that number creeping up and I'm like, I'm going to have to read a lot of stories. At some point, I'll go ahead and tell you, at some point, we're going to tip past like feasibility for just, you know, just me, right? Of course, I don't want the writing challenges to continue to be me and my wife judging them. That's sort of kind of been like a necessity thing. I would love to bring in more creators, but also maybe in the future we'll do some more community member kind of thing. If there's any people in the community that would also like to assist in scoring and judging and things. So those are things I'm keeping in mind moving forward. I think that is a very clear way this can be improved. The more people that you have involved with things like reading and judging, it takes more personal bias out of it, which of course we try to approach without doing that. We read and we judge. That's right. We don't judge, we only score and celebrate here. We're so positive. Wow, look at us. Look at us. So yeah, I think that's everything I have for you guys. I would love for you to call into the podcast hotline and see if that's even gonna work. I tested out and it seems to work. Additional awards, you know, it was always just a bonus additional thing when there was a very clear sort of thing that came up, like this was one hilarious line. So I wanted to highlight that. This time it was just, you know, we were just really enjoying and appreciating the stories, and so we ended up not doing those. Lucas, hello. Yes, Lucas, you got 4th, my guy. Congratulations. Congratulations. Chicken Man says maybe we could do more smaller challenges. That's something I've considered. Something I've considered before. I'll keep thinking about that. My wife did have one specific award she wanted to give. I'll post it in the Discord. The Potato Award. For the lack of saying anything else in the live stream right now, it took to the end of the story for her to realize that the characters in this story were not potatoes, but in fact, human beings. I'll announce that in the Discord. How's that? This year's Potato Award goes to this author and their story. All right. All that being said, for those whose story showed up here, and even if your story didn't, I would highly recommend that you share your story. Post it in either the story workshop, especially if you just want to post it on your website and let people know about it. That would be the Share Your Links channel. If you want to share your story and potentially get feedback from others, the story workshop is meant for that. The writing challenge section of the Discord will probably persist for another week. If you need to do anything in there, grab any information, whatever the case may be. And then I will archive that and that will disappear. But the normal story workshop is a great place to share your writing if you do want more. For everyone who landed in the top 5, I will reach out to you on Discord. I will give you my feedback. Again, like I said, it's just my own personal advice, my own personal sort of thing. It's up to you whether or not you agree or disagree with that. You can always let me know if you have any further questions. Blazako, I'm not forgetting about you. I'll make sure your story doesn't go to waste, I promise you. Boil them, mash them, stick Blazako in a stew. You know what they say. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I really miss doing these live streams, so I'll probably try to find some excuse to do this again in the near future. Whether it's a writing challenge, whether it's a writing, wait, I was gonna say whether it's a writing challenge that I'm scoring, whether it's a writing challenge that I'm doing, maybe do some short story kind of stuff. We'll see. We'll see. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, especially for those who it's already late at night. Thanks for joining us. I know that's not always the easiest, but I appreciate you tuning in. Goodbye, everyone. Bye. Take care.